This might be the scariest SCP that you've probably never heard of.
A pair of SCP Foundation researchers open the door of a containment cell and find themselves staring at something unlike anything they've ever seen before. Sitting in the middle of the room is...
Okay, that thing looks like a giant, hairy meatball, and that thing is the SCP. It's actually a room that you can go inside of.
a giant lump that appears to be made of what
lump.
can only be described as flesh.
Ah, it's so gross.
The two look at each other in disbelief. Just what is this thing? They
Flesh.
circle the huge
Whoa,
blob,
it's
looking
massive.
it over, wondering what on earth it could be.
Guys, check it out. Like, this guy is standing underneath of it, and it's barely even, like showing the full entire thing. Like, we're maybe seeing a quarter of the giant meatball flesh SCP.
One of
That
the
is
researchers
creepy.
finally gets the courage to actually feel it.
Ah!
He finds that it's warm to the touch.
Why would you touch it?
And does he detect some slight movement?
What?
He slowly moves to place his ear against it to listen. But a sudden shudder from the mass sends him jumping back in fright.
These guys are a lot
Just
braver
then,
than me.
The other researcher calls to him from the other side of the sphere. It sounds like he has found something. As he approaches, he too sees what caused his partner to call out. There, in the middle of this tumorous ball, is a door.
Okay, wait, so you're telling me they didn't see this or they didn't know about it when they first went into this area with the giant flesh meatball? That it kind of looks like it has like weird hairs on it too, which is just like even more gross. Like, I know this is one of the scariest SCPs, but it's probably also one of the most gross, disgusting SCPs that I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of SCPs.
It's a circular iron hatch, the kind sealed by a valve. And it's open.
Oh,
Now the researchers are really confused.
don't go
A
inside.
massive lump of living flesh is strange enough, but why does it have a door? One of the researchers peeks inside.
You're so
Is that a
stupid.
couch they see?
Ew.
And a table? Does someone live in this thing?
Ew.
Things are getting beyond strange.
That is
The
disgusting.
two researchers look up at the observation window where their supervisor is watching them. The supervisor does not hesitate. He nods at them, and the researchers know what they must do.
They have to go inside.
Rock, paper,
Oh.
scissors, shoot.
Is that really how the SCP Foundation does this? You would think they would have some better system other than rock, paper, scissors, shoot to decide who goes inside of the SCP.
The researcher who lost winces. He knew that coming to work at the SCP Foundation meant that he would be dealing with some strange, dangerous, and disgusting anomalies.
I would probably
but he never
quit.
imagined he would have to climb inside a giant orb of meat.
I don't think you could
His
pay me
partner
enough money
opens
to
the hatch
climb
all the
inside that
way
meatball.
and offers a hand to help him, knowing he has no other option.
The other guy that won rock, paper, scissors, shoot is like, here you go. Go ahead, Jimmy. Good luck, loser.
The researcher steps inside. Inside,
Ew.
the air is hot, thick, and moist, like a cramped gym that's had too many bodies exerting themselves on a warm, humid day.
Oh, I just know
He
the
walks
stench
through
in
the short
there is
entranceway,
gnarly.
And his eyes adjust to the dim light to find that he's standing in the middle of a cozy little room. A single small lamp on a table is giving off just enough light for him to see that the room is sparsely furnished.
Okay, so the room has electricity, but it also kind of looks like everything is made out of this weird flesh.
With a few pieces including a small couch and a twin bed. Outside, his partner calls to him, asking what he can see. As the researcher turns to answer, the door snaps shut.
Oh,
The valve spins on its own, locking itself tight. Try as he might, the researcher can't get it to budge. He bangs on the door and yells, "Is he all right in there? Is everything okay?" His only response is a muffled scream from inside the ball of flesh.
what is happening?
He keeps pulling at the door, twisting the valve with all of his strength.
Oh my
but it
God.
won't move. The sounds of gurgles and
Ew.
wet sloshing.
Ew,
come from
it is.
inside
It's
the
eating him
throat.
alive.
An alarm starts
That's
to
so
sound as
gross.
he strains against the door, exerting himself so hard that he
Ew.
feels like a vein in his head might burst. Suddenly, the valve loosens, and a sudden lack of resistance causes him to fall to the floor.
Oh, wow.
The valve spins on its own, and the door swings open once again. The ball of flesh is quiet once more.
But the
The
guy's
researcher
not going to
picks
be in
himself
there.
up off the ground and slowly, carefully, peeks inside.
Imagine there's like a new piece of furniture. Like Jimmy got turned into like a lamp.
Hello? Are you okay? Is anyone in there? There's no response. That is, until a blast of hot air comes rushing out of the hatch, blowing the
Ew.
researcher's hair back. When it's over, he peeks inside again. his fellow researcher is nowhere to be seen. Inside is the same couch, bed, and table with a small lamp.
Ah, so he did not get turned into a lamp.
There too.
Oh, is there?
Across from the couch, where there was nothing before, is a small television. While this may seem strange, it's just another day at the SCP Foundation, where anomalous objects and creatures are studied and contained, including SCP-002, also known as the Living Room. SCP-002 is the designation given to a large, tumorous, fleshy growth. It's roughly spherical, with a circumference just over 15 meters.
Where did they find this thing?
Estimated volume of around 60 meters cubed. Located on one side is an iron valve hatch, similar to what might be found on an old submarine.
Interesting.
Which leads into the interior of the ball.
But that's the mouth of this creature.
Are surprised to discover a small room that resembles a low-rent studio apartment.
Like, I wonder if they could, like, bring cameras in there. I guess that's how we're seeing this. But, like, I wonder if they could set up, like, a security camera inside of it. Or maybe, I don't know, like, you're not supposed to destroy SCPs. You're just supposed to, like, secure and contain them. But, I mean, for something, especially this, like, you should try to destroy it. Or, like, put it in the ocean or bury it, like, a mile underground. Because this thing is so creepy.
Complete with furniture and even a small window.
A window?
Strangely, the outside of the ball of flesh shows no windows, and indeed no openings at all.
How does that work?
For the iron hatch. The furniture in the room displays no anomalous properties, though examination has revealed that the furniture appears to be constructed of sculpted bone, woven hair, and other biological substances, all coming from human bodies. Analysis of samples taken from the furniture has shown each to be constructed from independent and fragmented DNA sequences, several of which correspond to SCP research personnel who have been lost inside of SCP-002. To date, the Living Room has been responsible for 7 members of staff going missing. At the same time, during the course of its containment at the SCP Foundation, the room appears to have added multiple additional furnishings, including 2 lamps.
All of the people have been turned into different pieces of furniture, which, I mean, dudes, like, they should never let anybody in there again because they're going to get turned into, like, it could be anything. It could be a mirror. They could get turned into a bed. They could get turned into a ceiling fan.
A throw rug, a television, a radio,
a radio
chair, 3 books in an unknown language, 4 children's toys,
children's toys.
Plant. Tests have been performed using a variety of non-human entities in order to see if they would provoke a similar response from SCP-002 to that of humans. Various lab animals, including those with close DNA to humans, such as chimpanzees, have been placed in the room. But so far, all have failed to make the living room react. Human
so it
cadavers
only
were also
eats
tested,
humans.
but they
So it
too
only
did not
eats like
produce
these
any
guys,
effect.
like you could send in,
It
I
is
guess,
unknown
D-class
what causes
personnel,
SCP-002
and then you'll just keep getting more
engage in
parts
its
of the room
behavior,
put together.
But whatever process
That
it
is so
uses to
strange.
convert organic matter into furnishings seems to only be triggered by the presence of living human beings. SCP-002 was discovered in northern Portugal, following reports of an object falling from Earth's orbit.
Got it. Okay, don't go to Portugal.
Of a small crater was SCP-002.
It fell out of the sky.
It was encased in a thick shell of rock.
So it's
but
an
the anomaly's
alien.
Fleshy exterior could be seen through cracks that were likely created by the impact. A local farmer was the first to spot the object falling to Earth and brought word of what he found to his village.
Good.
At the same time, a Level 4 SCP Foundation agent stationed in the area detected elevated levels of radioactivity and traced the source
he knew
back
about
to the
it.
crater. An SCP collection squad led by General Mulhausen was dispatched to the impact site and quickly secured the area. Test subjects from the nearby village were recruited for initial analysis of the object, with 3 men being individually sent inside of SCP-002, all of whom disappeared.
See?
Having confirmed this anomaly's deadly properties, General Mulhausen then issued a Level 4A termination order that would apply to any local witnesses in order to ensure that no knowledge of the object reached the outside world. He then oversaw its transport to an SCP containment facility.
Okay.
As Foundation staff prepped SCP-002 for relocation, 4 members of the security personnel were seemingly mesmerized and drawn inside the object.
Oh, okay, so this is new. We didn't realize that the SCP has, like, mind control abilities. If you're nearby, it can take over your mind, and I guess all of them are probably about to walk into this thing.
They too disappeared. This was the first hint that SCP-002 possesses some form of subtle mind control, with the ability to influence humans into stepping inside of it. It was after these losses that it was first noticed that the object appeared to grow new furnishings, following someone disappearing inside. After these mishaps, General Mulhausen ordered all staff to wear hazmat suits when dealing with SCP-002.
That is
following
smart.
the General's own termination, SCP-002 was placed in containment at the secure facility
like
where
looking
it
at
currently
it.
resides. Due to the ongoing danger presented by SCP-002, the risk it poses to any who step inside of it, and the mind control abilities it possesses, it has been classified as Euclid.
Okay,
It is
that
to
makes
remain
sense.
connected at all times to a suitable power supply to keep it in a charging mode of some kind.
Okay, so it does indeed take power, which is how the lamp is able to turn on. I was kind of wondering that earlier, but I was hoping that they would explain it. So it does take power. I guess they just like stick it in its butt and then it's able to power up, I guess.
Which appears to make it more docile.
Oh,
In the
okay.
event of a power outage, staff in the immediate area are to be evacuated and the object's containment cell emergency barrier is to be closed.
Okay, wait, you're telling me that the SCP Foundation that have people like stationed all the way out in Portugal and like probably across the world, they can't afford a generator to keep the power on? What?
Sealing it off from the rest of the site.
I don't believe it.
Once power is reestablished, strobing X-ray and ultraviolet lights are to be activated in the containment cell until
okay.
SCP-002 is returned to its charging mode.
Oh,
Research
okay.
teams investigating SCP-002 that will come within 20 meters of the object must consist of no fewer than 2 members. Personnel should also maintain physical contact with one another at all times to confirm
why?
that the other is present and not experiencing any feelings of confusion, dulled perception, or other forms of
But what if they
that
both
may
get
lead to them
brainwashed?
entering the living room. No personnel at all below a level 3 clearance are allowed inside of SCP-002, and any staff that have contact with the anomaly are to be escorted no less than 5 kilometers away and must undergo a 72-hour quarantine and psychological evaluation.
That is probably for the best.
SCP-002 is one of the oldest anomalies in the SCP Foundation database, but remains one of the least understood.
Yeah, I'm actually very curious about this. Since it is SCP-002, is this like technically the second SCP that was ever created? I'm stupid, so let me know in the comments down below if that's the case.
Perhaps one day we'll understand what it is and why it was at one time sitting in the orbit of Earth. Did someone send it here, intending us to one day find it? Did it come here of its own volition? Or did we put it there ourselves in an attempt to keep it away?
And on her way home is walking down a city street. And just like most nights, the downtown empties out after the working day ends, leaving the streets empty of both cars and pedestrians.
Ooh, spooky.
She hates when she has to close the shop and walk to her bus stop alone. And she is excited that in just another week, she will be starting a new job that's just around the corner from where she lives. She just has to get through these last few nights of being the last one at the store and having to walk home alone. Her more immediate concern now, though, is that her music has stopped. The young woman takes her phone out to check it.
Oh no, the phone died.
She must have forgotten to plug in the charger.
What kind of phone is
She
that?
hates when she does that.
She's got that
Now
Nokia
she'd have
brick.
to spend the bus ride staring out the window at nothing. What was that? The woman looks up from her phone. Did she see someone? She turns around and sees something on the other side of the street. It's dark.
That's a
And all she
person?
can make out is a big, shadowy figure.
Okay, if I
She
saw
doesn't
that,
stare
I
for
am
long,
booking
though.
it home,
Starts
boys.
to walk again, picking up her pace slightly. She can hear the sound of footsteps and glances over her shoulder.
Okay,
The
I'm
person
getting
across the
freaked
street
out
is
for
moving
her.
too, and they seem to be matching her pace.
keep running.
avoiding
Just-
any
just run.
streetlights to
Just
remain in
run.
darkness. She
How?
starts to move a
You
little
can
quicker,
barely even see the person.
and so do they.
What?
The young woman grips the pepper spray in her
Oh,
pocket.
good. Okay, she's
She doesn't
prepared
know
for
what this
anything.
person is doing or what they want, but she's going to be ready for
Pepper
it.
spray him.
She keeps walking.
Shoot him in the
and
eye
glances over her
socket.
shoulder again. They're crossing the street towards her now. She ducks into an alley, and as soon as she's around the corner and out of sight, she starts
I'm
to
getting
run.
the EBGBs, boys. I
She
don't like
sprints through
this.
the
Yeah,
alley
run.
as fast as she
Get the
can.
flip out
She
of
looks
there.
behind her, frightened of what she might see, but no one is there. Maybe she was wrong, and they weren't following her.
Oh,
She's not about to stop
I don't
running
know.
and
Trust
find
your
out.
gut, girly.
She emerges from the alley, still running as hard as she can. She reaches her bus stop and finally stops to catch her breath. She checks her watch. The bus should be pulling up right now, but it's nowhere to be seen. She looks around, and what she does see is the shadowy
No.
figure coming out of the alley.
Oh no,
It's
dude, I'm
coming
getting
straight towards
goosebumps.
She backs up into the bus stop and takes the pepper spray out of her pocket, her finger ready on the trigger.
Shoot!
The shadowy figure
Shoot
keeps
the
moving
man!
towards her.
Shoot him!
The dark street is lit up.
Whoa.
The woman looks behind her to see her savior.
Oh, it's the bus!
It's the bus.
Yes!
She turns back to see the shadowy figure retreating to the alley,
Okay, good.
as if the light is pushing it away. The
She's
woman
safe.
breathes a sigh of relief and finally lets some of the tension in her body release as the
Ooh,
bus
me
comes
too.
to a stop in front of her.
I was getting real worried for
The
this
door
random
swings open,
woman.
and the woman steps inside. I've never been so happy to get on the bus, she says to the driver as she scans her transit card. The driver doesn't respond, though. In fact, he doesn't react to her at all. He just keeps staring straight ahead. The woman doesn't push it, though. She's just happy to be on the bus, even if it is completely empty. She heads to the back of the bus and takes a seat. As the bus pulls away, she can almost swear she could see the shadowy figure standing in the alley, watching her. The bus
Maybe the
rumbles
Shadow's a
along
good
the
guy?
empty city
I don't really
streets
know.
as the woman looks out the window and takes deep breaths, trying to calm herself after her harrowing ordeal. After a while, she notices that the bus doesn't seem to be stopping as much as it normally does, or at all for that matter. Did they change the route? Or did she get on the wrong bus?
Yes.
They are approaching her stop, though, so it
Hit
doesn't
the
matter.
emergency brake.
She reaches up to pull the cord. A bell chimes, and the stop requested light illuminates in the front of the bus. But the driver doesn't show any sign of stopping, or even slowing down.
That's
She pulls
creepy.
the cord again, but
Especially
still
if you're
no
like the
reaction.
only one on the bus.
As she sees her building go by, she calls out, "Hey, this is my stop." But the driver doesn't acknowledge her at all. She stands up and walks to the front. "Didn't you hear me? This is my stop." Still no reaction from the driver. "Hey, I said..." She reaches out and grabs his shoulder, spinning him towards her.
Oh my
Find herself staring
god.
into the eyes of a fresh corpse.
What?
The woman screams and jumps back as the driver slumps forward towards her. She's terrified by the dead body, as well as the fact that the bus will crash. But when she looks at the steering wheel, she sees that it is continuing to move on
Okay,
its
that
own.
is some
The woman is in a
paranormal
full-blown
activity
panic
stuff
now.
going on
She
right now.
screams and pounds on the door, but it won't open. The engine roars
Oh my
as
gosh,
the bus
it's
starts
speeding
to
up.
pick up speed. She doesn't know what to
What-
do.
well, yeah,
Runs
what
to the
can
back
you
where
do?
She tries the rear door, but it doesn't budge
Oh,
either.
she is
The
trapped.
bus speeds up even more, whipping around corners and tossing her from side to side. She's thrown to the ground and hits her head. Her eyelids feel like they weigh 100 pounds, and she struggles to keep them open. She manages to stay awake, though, and as she looks up in a daze, staring at the ceiling of the bus, she can see a green gas
What?
emanating from the vents. It's the last thing she sees before her eyes close for good.
Oh my
The bus finally
gosh.
comes to a stop in a deserted area of the city. The vehicle raises slightly as one
What?
after another, each wheel
What?
appears to unfold,
What?
revealing them to be long, black, spindly
the
legs. The bus stands up on these insectoid appendages as its roof splits into two
No.
massive wings. The bus then leaps up into the sky, spreading its wings, and flies at the night. How could this young woman have known that after escaping danger, that her rescuer would be something worse, much worse? Unfortunately for her, she had just willingly stepped onto an instance of SCP-2086, a deadly and terrifying anomaly that hides in plain sight as it stalks and hunts its human prey.
Oh, that is so creepy.
SCP-2086 is the designation the SCP Foundation has given to a species that appears to belong to the arthropod phylum, a group that also includes arachnids and crustaceans. These strange creatures
Gross.
differ from most of their lobster and spider brethren in that they make use of an advanced form of camouflage to move among modern society unseen. Adult SCP-2086 instances all resemble some sort of public transportation vehicle, with the exact make, model, year, and branding varying from instance to instance. SCP-2086 instances move about the streets of our cities foraging for food, and at first glance, they are virtually indistinguishable from the standard transit vehicles they are mimicking. Close examination of them, though, will reveal that the steel, wood, plastic, and glass they are composed of aren't those materials at all, but a form of specialized chitin, which is the substance that makes up the hard exoskeleton
And your
of many
fingernails, I'm pretty
insects
sure.
and other arthropods. And that's not the only aspect of SCP-2086 that isn't actually what it appears to be. The wheels on the bus may go round and round,
wheels on the
but they
bus.
also are capable of unraveling into long, thin
I
legs
don't like that
create
sound.
A very imposing image
so
when
creepy.
SCP-2086 is standing up at its full height. The roof, too, is able to unfurl into a set of giant insectoid wings, and after leaping into the air with its powerful legs, the wings will spread, and the bus can take flight, which appears to be its preferred method of travel when it is not in its camouflaged hunting mode. Its headlights, too, are an entirely biological mechanism, consisting of 2 large bioluminescent optical organs similar to those possessed by SCP-015-IT and
Okay, creepy.
SCP-745.
That is creepy.
Dissections of SCP-2086 specimens have shown them to have an entire system of organs, including a heart, brain, and stomach, which are found beneath the flooring in the creature's interior chamber. SCP-2086 appendages are not just used for locomotion, though, and they have been observed as being able to use them for fine object manipulation. This fact was learned when they were observed building crude shelters from scrap materials at their nesting grounds. More on these nests and the terrifying events that take place there later. When SCP-2086 is not at its nest, it engages in its foraging behavior. Typically, an SCP-2086 instance will fly to the start of a route and begin driving along city streets, picking up human passengers who willingly enter the creature's inner chamber, thinking that it is a standard bus. Along with its exoskeleton closely resembling a real vehicle, SCP-2086 has one more particularly gruesome trick to fool would-be passengers into becoming its prey. A bus that drives itself would lead many to think twice about stepping on board, so SCP-2086 makes use of a decoy driver, which is actually a human corpse encased and preserved in a shellac-like substance. Fibrous appendages protrude from the front seat.
Oh, never mind. That's how it does it. Okay.
Hold it in place. Are even capable of manipulating the corpse.
I didn't need to know that.
Appearance of movement as it drives.
I really did not need to know that. That's okay.
SCP-2086 has gathered up what it considers to be enough victims, a number that appears to vary from instance to instance. It will release a noxious gas from its interior vents. The gas produces an effect in humans similar to chloroform, and everyone on board will be rendered unconscious. The creature, now filled with its prey, does not feed on the humans trapped inside it, though. Instead, it will take them to its nesting grounds, which is where the real horror begins.
Okay, it's gonna get
These
creepier?
nesting grounds
Really?
are most often localized in scrap and junkyards that have fallen into disuse or are completely abandoned. And it is in these nests that the juvenile instances of SCP-2086
There's baby?
are found. While
What? There's a
full-grown
baby
instance can
version.
weigh as much as 17,000 kilograms, which is the approximate curb weight of a normal bus. Extensive field research and observation into SCP-2086 has led to the identification of the smaller, juvenile instances, which are much smaller than their adult counterparts, weighing under 200 kilograms. But they don't stay this size for long. When an adult SCP-2086 arrives back at the nest with its interior chamber filled with human prey, it will open its doors and allow the juvenile members to enter inside of it so they can feed and grow.
No.
Once inside, a juvenile will remove a passenger from the bus and take them outside. The effects of the chloroform gas will often begin to wear off at this time, but by this point, it is already too late. The juvenile instance will then proceed to force the human into a hole located under their hood. This leads to a sort of digestive tract that connects to its inner chamber where the driver's seat is located.
This is getting a little too detailed for my liking.
Will then emerge from the seat and protrude into the prey's body, which hold them in place in the driver's seat and trap them there, while at the same time acting as feeding tubes, draining the blood from the now doomed passenger. Once the person has been completely drained of blood, tubes will begin secreting a saline solution as the internal compartment fills with a shellac-like substance. And the effects of both combine to effectively embalm and preserve the corpse, which will serve as its own decoy driver once it enters adulthood. And this process happens quite quickly. A newborn SCP-2086 will reach adulthood in just 1 week, provided that it has had access to nutrients, at which point it will begin searching for new sources of prey for its own offspring, of which it will likely have plenty. 2086 instances become capable of reproduction at 8 days, and females are able to produce up to 20 offspring, but their lives are quite
20
short,
too many.
with their entire life cycle usually lasting just 12 to 15 days.
That's it?
Prior to feeding and beginning the process of becoming a full-size adult, juveniles will also leave the nest and will covertly move about the city, removing bus stop signposts and relocating them, often creating a route that leads back to its own nest. These are the routes that adult instances will then typically follow as they hunt for more prey to bring back to their colony. SCP-2086 instances have been found in metropolitan areas around the world, and news reports are closely monitored by the Foundation for missing persons that had recently used public transport, with Foundation field agents being dispatched to potential high-threat areas to investigate further. Any nests that are discovered have their locations condemned, if they weren't already, and demolished using chemical explosives.
Yes, explode the
Previously, an effort
SCPs.
was made to capture and contain live instances of SCP-006.
I wonder how that went.
And currently, the Foundation has 5
Oh.
such specimens in its custody.
Oh,
that are
it's
stored
kinda
in a
cute how they're
converted
all
airplane
different.
hangar. Due to their short lifespans and high rate of reproduction, the amount of live specimens contained at any given time can vary widely, and will often depend on the number of available D-Class personnel who can serve as drivers. Terminated specimens are either destroyed or sent to a specialized cold storage container at a secure site for further biological research. SCP-2086 continues to be one of the most dangerous anomalies
It
for
seems
common
like it,
everyday
yeah.
users of public transport.
Because a lot of SCPs, like, you can look at it as, like, you know, Shy Guy or the hard to destroy reptile or the statue, and you look at it and you're like, okay, that is weird. My gut is telling me to stay away from that thing. But this one, you don't have that thought. You literally think it's a bus that you can get inside, and it tricks everybody. So that's definitely why this is one of the most dangerous SCPs of all time, and one of the weirdest ones that I have never heard of ever. But at least now we know. And if you guys do want to learn about more SCPs, make sure you guys click right here to see more.
Man opens his mouth to bite a hot dog. and
Sounds like
suddenly
me.
Freezes. His eyes widen, and the hot dog drops from his hand, falling to
Okay.
the ground. Ahead, a stampede of people is running toward him, screaming,
Huh?
crying out for help.
Why?
Behind them, a man walks at an ordinary, casual pace, but something is off. His eyes have a glazed, unfocused look to them. and he
Okay.
keeps shoveling random items into his open mouth.
That's kinda
swallowing
weird.
them down. He eats a clipboard and pen, a discarded shoe, and as the first man watches in horror, the very hungry man grabs the ankle of a fallen member of the crowd
what?
and pulls him into
No.
his mouth, devouring him.
Oh,
The first man turns to run for his
what?
life, only to be knocked to the ground by the rest of the crowd, trying to escape. He struggles to climb back to his feet, and a hand reaches out to take his.
Oh, is that
When he makes it
Mr.
to his
Hungry?
feet, he looks up and sees the hungry
Oh
man. pulling
my
him in,
goodness.
Mouth stretching.
He looks like a
open wide.
Titan from Attack on
The sky
Titan,
is
but
a
normal
perfect
size.
Cloudless blue. The air is warm from the unbroken sunlight, but cooled to the perfect temperature by a gentle breeze.
So it's a
There is
nice day.
sense of electricity, excitement, and competition in the air.
Okay.
Throngs of people have gathered together in a makeshift arena, piled into plastic chairs and swarming around concession
I'm gonna guess it's
stands,
some sort of
all
eating
training their eyes
competition.
on the arena's center. What are they here for? Some sort of Olympic Games? A baseball tournament? A horse race? No, it's something greater, something meatier. It is the annual Midsummer Hot Dog Eating Contest, and locals and tourists alike are coming together to see just who can cram the
Where's
most
Joey
pork or beef
Chestnut?
hot dogs and buns
pretty sure
down
he
their
wins,
gullets
like, every
in front
year.
of a roaring crowd. The announcer makes his way to the front of the arena, standing with his arms wide in front of the long table behind him. As he calls out the names of this year's contestants, they file in, each taking his place behind the table. There is the previous year's champion, a burly man with a bushy beard and twinkling eyes.
I'm kind of curious if we'll see Mr. Hungry, aka SCP-913, as one of the contestants here today.
And there is this year's surprise competitor, a skinny 19-year-old college student with a hungry grin. Then there are the lesser-known contestants, a local father who signed up after making a joke with his daughter, an uncle who scrawled his name on the sign-up sheet after a few too many drinks, a recently retired man checking off another item on his golden years bucket list. All have come to the event today with full hearts and empty stomachs,
So,
ready to see
who's
who the year's
gonna
victor
win?
will be. The announcer riles up the crowd, encouraging them to cheer as loudly as possible to spur on their chosen competitor. All the while, staff are carrying out trays piled high with hot dogs, more hot dogs than most people see in a year.
I have a
except for the
bad
people who
feeling
just
about
really,
this.
Really love hot dogs. Each contestant receives a tray of hot dogs, a bucket of water, and an additional empty bucket, just in case.
Kind of side note, I always wondered, like, if you sign up for a food eating competition, do you have to pay for the food? Because I feel like that would be a pretty good way to get a lot of free food if you wanted to. Just saying.
Well, you get the idea. With the supplies and competitors all in place, it is time to begin the countdown. The announcer holds up his favorite air horn and calls out,
3, 2, 1, eat!
At the sound of the air horn's blast, the men leap into action, seizing hot dogs from plates and each engaging in their unique competitive eating technique. The previous year's champion employs the method of famous hot dog eating champion Joey Chestnut.
That's who I was
dunking
talking
his entire
about.
hot dog sloppily
Yeah,
into
he
his
makes it,
water,
like, really
then
mushy.
swallowing it as quickly as
Kind of
possible.
gross.
The new challenger, on the other hand, employs the Solomon method, named for King Solomon.
Much like the fabled king suggested doing with a stolen infant, eaters using the Solomon method break the focus of their feasting in half before polishing it off. One of the more casual competitors attempts a divide and conquer technique.
Interesting.
Eating first the dog
Oh,
itself,
ew, I didn't
and
like
then
that.
the
That was
bun.
weird.
Others employ no specific technique at all, attempting to devour the stack of hot dogs before them, using the same classic eating style they might employ at a family barbecue.
He's just chomping
This
down.
is a grave mistake. One by one, the less prepared competitors drop out,
He looks
spitting
so-
into their buckets,
so
wiping meat sweats from their
tired.
foreheads, waddling out of the arena while groaning and holding their
They're all going to be in
stomachs.
food comas.
Soon, only the two frontrunners remain. But what's this? A challenger approaches. An unassuming black man, clad in a shirt and dress pants, rushes into the
It's
arena,
Mr.
his face
Hungry.
a mask of single-minded determination, and begins seizing the discarded hot dogs off the table, gobbling them up as fast as he can. The announcer and the rest of the audience watch in stunned disbelief. This is unprecedented, and as exciting as it is, definitely against the rules. This man is not a registered competitor, and he certainly can't join the contest in the champion stretch. Unsure of what else to do, the announcer beckons to the staff on the sidelines, ushering them back toward the table to clear
Oh
the
no,
food
they're going to
and
try to get
escort
rid
the
of him.
surprise drop-in out of the arena. The audience watches with rapt attention as the staff members attempt to remove the stranger from
Oh
his place at the
no,
table.
dudes. This is
He
how
shakes his head
chaos
violently,
happens.
refusing
Look at his teeth, too. His teeth look almost like they're carnivore teeth. Like they're a little sharper than usual.
to go and snatches the hot dogs away from them, even as they try to clear the trays away. All the while, the remaining competitors standing are attempting to stay the course and finish strong in spite of the interruption. The new, younger man collapses, slumping down onto the table in a hot dog-induced stupor. He has tapped out. The victor is the previous year's champion, with a staggering ultimate tally of 38 hot dogs.
38,
As
dude.
4 staff members work together
I
to
don't even
wrestle
think I
the
could eat
stranger out of
10.
the arena, the champion steps forward to receive his trophy. The crowd roars as he holds up his arms, grinning ear to ear and basking in yet another win. The announcer can still see the staff struggling with the stranger out of the corner of his eye, but this crowd wants to see their champion crowned, and the show must go on.
I wonder if something like this has ever happened before, where during like a professional eating competition, has a random stranger come up and like just tried to join the competition out of nowhere, and they're like just chowing down on hot dogs, and then they have to get security to come escort them out because clearly they're getting a bunch of free food, which is illegal. You must pay for the food, I think anyway.
So he grabs the Hot Dog King sash, the crown made from gold, well, gold-plated, hot dogs, and even the massive gold trophy. He crowns the winner, placing the sash over his shoulders. Then, as the music swells triumphantly, courtesy of the local high school marching band, the announcer holds up the trophy,
Wow.
sunlight glinting off its shiny
It's
surface.
gorgeous.
It represents so many things: achievement, celebration, the ability to eat just so much meat and not get sick. And now it is time for it to be awarded to the man who earned it.
He did
The
it.
announcer stretches his arms, handing over the
What a
trophy to
beast.
the contest winner, when all of a sudden,
Oh.
another hand grabs
Oh,
hold
is he
of his
going to
handle,
eat the
ripping it
trophy?
from the announcer's grasp. The stranger has returned, somehow freeing himself from the multiple security guards.
Yeah,
who escorted
because he
him
ate
away.
them
He has
alive.
taken the trophy for himself.
Somebody should go check on
But
them.
he isn't just attempting to crown himself the hot dog king. No, this is not a simple coup de hot dog. He lifts the trophy up over his head, opening his mouth as wide as it will go, and tears the metal in half with a horrible screeching sound,
So-
shoving the pieces into
As soon as you see that, especially when you see his like mangled teeth, which probably happened because he's done this a bunch, where he's probably been eating everything in sight, including metal, which will destroy your teeth. So as soon as you see something like this, like you should probably, you know, call the cops, maybe call the military, call the president, maybe call in NASA. I don't even know what you do because this guy's clearly not human. He's an alien.
his mouth, chewing and swallowing. By the time the announcer and the champion recover from their shock enough to move again, the trophy is completely gone, vanished into the stranger's belly.
That's gross.
After a day of seemingly impossible feats of feasting, the sight of this strange man consuming a truly impossible meal of metal is just too much for the already anxious crowd to take. The arena erupts into absolute chaos as people spill out of their seats en masse, fleeing the area. The champion, however, does not turn and run. He feels robbed of his victory.
Oh my gosh,
Though
he's
it
gonna
may
try
have
to fight.
occurred in an utterly bizarre fashion.
No,
he won't
dude.
stand for this kind of
Oh,
disrespect.
Why in a million years would you go up to somebody as crazy as the dude that just ate your trophy in like 3 bites? He's clearly psychotic, right? Like you should probably steer clear of people like that. Just, you know, I don't want to tell you what to do and how to live your life, but you should definitely not approach people that eat metal trophies. That is something that I will live my life by from this day forward.
He has trained all year for this moment, only to watch his trophy be eaten right in front of him.
There's always more
He
trophies.
marches right up to the stranger and pokes him in the chest, demanding to know who he thinks he is. What gives him the right to crash the hot dog eating contest, interrupt the proceedings, and upstage his victory by chowing down on the trophy? The man doesn't answer him, so the champion continues to berate him,
stop.
wagging his
Get your
finger in
finger
his
away
face.
from his mouth.
The stranger's eyes
No,
follow the
dude,
finger,
what are you
and slowly
thinking?
He opens his mouth. There is a sudden
No,
chop,
no,
and the
no, it's
champion
just tomatoes.
screams,
It's
holding
just
his hand
ketchup,
to his
right?
chest, using his shirt
Oh,
to stem the bleeding.
no, no,
He
no,
turns to
no.
run with the rest of the crowd. It's too late. The stranger's hand clamps down on his shoulder, holding him in place with a surprising strength. The only thing he sees before his life is snuffed out is the stranger's wide open mouth before everything goes dark.
That's
with another
really, really
sickening
scary.
chomp.
It's like a
All the
human
while,
snake.
The crowd's terror rises to a fever pitch at the horrible sight. They trample each other as they scramble to vacate the area, shoving strangers and loved ones alike out of the way.
dude.
In a bid
This
to
is a
escape,
head
this
scratcher.
mysterious equal opportunity omnivore
I don't even know
with
what
an
you do.
appetite for far more than just hot dogs. Some manage to escape, running far enough from the arena that they can stop to catch their breaths and glance back at the ones who were not so lucky. Those who tripped and fell in the madness, who had the wind knocked out of them by an elbow to the gut from one of their neighbors, those with weak ankles or who hadn't tied their shoes carefully enough. All of these poor, unfortunate souls are next on the menu for the stranger. He devours them one by one.
This is
rarely
gross.
even
I don't
stopping to
like
chew.
this.
As one surviving woman watching from a distance pulls out her phone to call 911,
Well, yeah.
she can't escape noticing the parallels to the contest itself. The way the stranger eats with a singular focus on consuming as much as possible.
That is a
There's
human
no pause
leg.
to enjoy the meal, but there is no sadism or malice in the act either. Just the sheer, undeniable drive to keep eating. The woman's call to the police is one of the strangest moments of her life and utterly baffles the local police department. Ma'am, please calm down. One officer repeats.
I am a little bit worried too because earlier they mentioned that the SCP had some weird superhuman strength. So even if they do bring the police there, are they going to be able to stop him? That's something that I don't think so, especially because usually SCPs, they're supernatural in the way that they behave. So if I had to guess, he's probably super strong. He probably is practically invincible, and there's nothing that's going to stop him from eating everything and everyone in sight.
Again and again. What do you mean there's a man eating people? I mean exactly what I said, she shouts. A man showed up at the hot dog contest and started eating people. Please, you have to do something.
It sounds like a prank call.
I think this is above our pay grade, miss. Another officer chimes in. You think we should call, the first officer trails off. Who?
The
The woman
SCP
demands,
Foundation.
but the line goes dead before she can ask another question. The police are clearly no help, and she isn't about to stick around and see just how big this stranger's appetite is. She tried to save the others, but now she needs to save herself. She
Yes,
runs all the
get
way
out of
home
there.
without another glance back. Meanwhile, the local police did make that mysterious call, and an SCP Foundation mobile task force is currently en route to the scene.
Oh, nice.
By the
Okay,
time
good.
They arrive, the park is a ghost town, with nothing but the blood-stained grass and abandoned arena to suggest that something horrible ever
Is the
happened here at
SCP
all.
gone?
But these aren't some bumbling local police officers who have no idea what to do with a man-eating anomaly. This team has seen enough bizarre sights to fill a lifetime, and another lifetime after that. They spy a trail of sticky red footprints leading away from the arena. At first, they assume that the substance is blood, but a closer examination reveals
Ketchup.
that it is, in fact, ketchup. They
Oh.
track the savory footprints
They
away from the
tasted
scene
it?
of the day's unsavory events, following them to a nearby warehouse. Judging from the scattered wooden beams, rustling metal, and boarded-up windows, this place has been abandoned for some time. The
Interesting.
perfect place for an anomaly to hide away.
That is the
If they
home
weren't
of
certain,
Mr. Hungry.
The sound of someone inside biting through sheets of metal is plenty of
Ew.
indication that this is the right place. With no time to waste, they break down the door of the warehouse, weapons drawn and ready. They follow the sound of the chewing, splitting up to apprehend the subject from all available directions. The shriek of tearing metal echoes
Where
through
is
the
he?
building, bouncing off the walls and creating a cacophony that is difficult to track. They do their best to follow the sound, but quickly veer off in separate directions in an attempt to cover as much ground as possible. One operative confronts the stranger just as he is reaching for
there he
another
is.
piece of metal. He watches as the man takes a
Oh!
massive bite out of the steel, a bite that should have shattered his teeth and broken his jaw.
Oh, he just ripped apart steel, bro. I thought only jet fuel could melt steel beams, but apparently this guy's teeth, it's basically jet fuel. That is crazy.
Instead, a cartoonish bite mark is taken out of the metal. He approaches the stranger, who, upon locking eyes with him, begins to shake his head, still chewing. The MTF operative ignores this visual cue, approaching the man and attempting to physically restrain him. This, like the confrontation with the champion before, is cut off with a fateful chomp, and the
no,
operative
why
screams
would you
ringing out
touch
through the
him?
warehouse.
I thought this SCP whole squadron, like, they've seen anomalies before, and you would think that they probably know, don't get too close to an SCP, because that could happen.
Alerting his teammates to his unfortunate fate. The screams suddenly go silent, and another MTF operative stops cold, listening as the sound of chewing draws nearer and nearer. He spins around to face the presence behind him and spots the stranger standing there. The otherwise ordinary man is polishing off the tip of a steel beam, grimacing as he swallows it.
That's
The
gross,
operative
dude.
lifts his weapon, pointing it at the subject. The operative tells him to stand down and come quietly. The hungry man pleads wide-eyed for the operative to turn and run while he still can.
Huh?
He takes small, reluctant steps toward the operative.
Okay, so it seems like the SCP himself is maybe just a normal guy, and he has the insatiable need to keep eating. Like, he can't stop himself.
Muttering that he can't stop.
Yeah.
The operative brandishes his weapon again, barking another order for the man to stop.
Is he gonna eat the bullets?
Before he can make another move, the stranger snatches the weapon out of his
okay.
hand, opens his mouth.
Are you kidding me? How, as an SCP, like SEAL Team 6, how, as a SCP soldier, are you gonna let an SCP get close enough to grab your gun? Like, these guys clearly aren't trained. My 95-year-old grandmother knows you just pull the trigger when some crazy dude is walking at you.
And swallows it. He winces as he does,
Ew.
but does not stop. until
Ew,
the weapon
it's
is
like a magic
completely
trick.
devoured. All at once, he lets out a loud belch. His knees buckle.
I wonder
and
what
he
his
slumps
poops
to the
are like.
ground. He rubs his stomach, wipes his brow, and sighs heavily. I'm so sorry about that. I was just so hungry I couldn't help it.
Oh.
The man shakes his head sadly. I hope you can get a new weapon. And I'm sorry about your friend, too.
Oh, wow.
You said you couldn't help it. Why'd you stop? The stranger shrugs, sighs again, and simply says, well, because I was full. After
Oh.
a bit of convincing,
So
and
he
a test
can
confirming
be
that the subject's
full.
strength and bite force has returned to ordinary human levels,
What?
the remaining mobile task force agreed to bring him into Foundation custody unharmed, though restrained. They pile into one of the SCP Foundation's trademark unmarked vans and set off toward the nearest Foundation site. About 1 hour into the trip, the subject begins to lament his growling stomach, asking
Oh,
if they can
no.
possibly stop somewhere for a bite to eat. Ordinarily, this is against protocol, but after what happened to their teammate, the task force members
Yeah.
aren't taking any chances.
You should probably give
They
him
pull
all
into
the
a
food
fast
that he
food
needs.
drive-thru and permit the subject to order whatever he wants. They'll declare it as a business expense later. 5 burgers, 5 fries, 5 tacos, 5
Wow.
pies, 5 cokes, 10 tater tots, 10 tenders,
What?
5 shakes, 5 pancakes, 5 jalapeno poppers, and
What?
5 baked potatoes later. The task force
That's like what my brain wants to order every time that I'm hungry, but obviously no human could eat that much food.
successfully reached the Foundation site with their newest subject, SCP-913. SCP-913 appears to be an average African-American man around middle age. Though his appearance is completely ordinary, his metabolism is unnaturally fast. He requires the recommended daily caloric
What?
intake for an average human being every 2 hours and has an unusually high internal temperature, though the specific number has been redacted from his official file. If he
Interesting.
does not meet his calorie requirement for a given 2-hour period, he will enter a trance state in which he is unable to control himself.
Yeah, okay.
In this state, he will break down and ingest any solid matter in his line of sight.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Shy Guy. How Shy Guy is kind of just like a normal dude, at least that has like superhuman strength and looks kind of weird, and is just really shy. And if you look at Shy Guy, he literally can't help it, and he will come and he'll kill you. And it kind of seems like this guy's in like the same boat where he doesn't want to do it, but he kind of has to do it in order for him to satiate like the hunger that he has. He has to eat stuff until he's full again.
This includes matter that would ordinarily be indigestible, including wood, plastic, and metal.
That's
In this state,
disgusting.
his appetite does not distinguish between living and non-living subjects. When he is in this hunger-driven state, he is aware of all his actions, but cannot stop himself, even when he eats dense materials
Oh.
that cause him extreme discomfort. If this state hits while the subject is sleeping, he will be forced awake. In addition to his anomalous appetite, SCP-913 can rend objects at an estimated force of 3,000
What?
newtons and can bite objects with an estimated force of 5,000 newtons when eating them.
goodness.
Whenever he is not in his trance state, He cannot replicate this strength. An examination of SCP-913's liver tissue showed that it is capable of producing new enzymes in response to foreign material, allowing his body to digest matter that should be highly dangerous to consume.
So he has metal poops.
Metabolize the substrate at an efficiency of approximately 98%, detoxifying any drugs or toxins consumed by the subject during the hunger state or otherwise. This includes, but is not limited to, amnestics and anesthetics.
Interesting. So he can't be poisoned, he can't be drugged, his body will just, just get out all of the toxins.
913 was first discovered. He was wearing a shirt and dress pants, both with the brand name Doctor's Orders sewn onto their tags. SCP-913 has no tattoos aside from one on his right calf, which reads Mr. Hungry. From Little Misters by Dr. Wondertainment.
Okay, so this guy was clearly experimented on, and he was created by whoever Dr. Wondertainment is.
Just in case you aren't aware, the Little Misters are a line of humanoid anomalies created by the mysterious Dr. Wondertainment Corporation, including the fish-headed Mr. Fish, candy-coated Ms. Sweetie, and Mr. Life and Mr. Death.
I've never heard of these.
Every bit as existentially upsetting as he sounds. The purpose of these creations is currently unknown, though, like many Dr. Wondertainment products, their existence invites endless speculation. SCP-913 must be contained in a customized humanoid containment cell lined with 1 meter thick carbon steel. 913 is to be provided standard furnishings for his containment cell, coinciding with the usual necessities for a comfortable humanoid dwelling. He may be given pre-recorded entertainment materials, such as concerts, films, and television shows upon request.
You know, even though he's in prison, he has some luxuries like music, television, cell phones, and probably unlimited food. So, kind of sounds pretty nice.
The cell may be accessed via a reinforced carbon steel door. Once every 2 hours, SCP-913 is provided with 1 nutritional supplement as specified in Document 913-2. I attempted to locate a copy of 913-2 for further details on said nutritional supplement, but access to it appears to be limited to researchers assigned to SCP-913.
Really? Interesting. So we don't know what he eats.
Nutrition is provided to SCP-913 via a central venous catheter that must be changed once every 3 months. These measures allow SCP-913 to receive the calories that he needs to avoid entering a hunger state, ensuring the safety of everyone on site, as well as his own comfort. Like the rest of the Little Misters, SCP-913 presents a puzzle that may never be solved. I could spend my limited time on this Earth wondering why Dr. Wondertainment would create a being that seems to serve no purpose other than eating as much as possible.
Yeah, that's so random.
Lest he unwillingly destroy the environment around him.
He's like an X-Men with a really stupid superpower.
But I believe that would be a waste of time. Why does Dr. Wondertainment do anything that they do? Why create a woman who can turn men into candy soldiers? Why create an ordinary man with a fish head, a tiny top hat, and a Boston accent?
That one's so
funny. The personal
funny.
motivations of Dr. Wondertainment, whether they are an individual or a massive conglomerate, are as inscrutable to me as the meaning of life itself.
Arrived. It is a small, picturesque place nestled in the lush mountains of Chile, hundreds of years before the world became the connected whole it is today. It is a world where that which exists beyond your borders ought not to exist at all. The people there live quiet and simple lives, herding goats and alpacas, growing crops in the hills, tanning, dyeing, and weaving. They are hardy people, acclimated to the often rough and unforgiving life on the slopes.
That's honestly like how a lot of these SCP videos are. It's kind of just like people like this, just normal everyday people minding their own business, doing their own things, they're doing their work, they're going home to their families, and then out of nowhere, a random, crazy, psychotic SCP that doesn't abide by the laws and natures of like normal physics, kind of just like comes in and destroys absolutely everything. And the fact that in this video, we don't have just one, but we're gonna have 2 SCPs battling, you would think probably to the death, or at least until like one, I don't know, like subdues the other. Like this place is going to be destroyed. But yeah, SCPs, especially these SCPs, are, pretty darn destructive, which is unfortunate.
Most in their time, the people here are ruled by superstition, a firm belief in the existence of gods and monsters beyond the veil. Some would scoff at their faith, call them primitive, but the reality is, an open mind will often catch more truth than a closed one.
That guy definitely knows some stuff.
We all know the truth.
Oh.
There are indeed monsters out there, haunting the dark. Always have been, always will be. The main difference is that now we have an organization on our side, a group prepared to die in that dark so we can live in the light.
So I wonder if maybe the events in this video take place before the SCP Foundation was ever even created. Because if it does, yeah, they're not going to stand a chance, because even the SCP Foundation has a really hard time containing a lot of the SCPs that they come across.
The people of back then weren't so lucky.
Oh,
they were forced to confront the gaping jaws and burning eyes of the unknown with no aid.
That's unfortunate
the same
for
eyes that
them.
would soon be turning to the innocent people of this rural, isolated Chilean village. It all began with a missing teenager. The boy was out hunting for game in the forest when his parents realized it had been hours since they'd seen him. As the shadows grow longer and the sky begins to darken, a rescue party forms and ventures out into the wilderness to search for him.
Oh boy.
Armed with clubs, bows, and arrows. The mountains can be a treacherous place between the harsh terrain and the many dangerous predators who hunt out there too. Little do they know, the boy they are searching for has fallen prey to a new type of predator, one that none of the villagers has ever encountered before.
Okay, so if I had to guess and make a prediction here, I think that SCP-001, aka the prototype, is probably the bad guy in this situation. I've watched a different video about the prototype, and it seems like the prototype, honestly, isn't really a friendly SCP by any means. And the other SCP in this video is 096, also known as Shy Guy. And Shy Guy, even though, if you look at it, it will find you and it will kill you, no matter where you are on planet Earth, or sometimes not even on planet Earth, it will find you and get you. Shy Guy really kind of just minds its own business. And it also seems like Shy Guy is just kind of like the rest of us, just like a normal person, but also just has this incredible power and really is self-conscious and just doesn't want anybody to look at it. But it doesn't seem like it's a bad person. If you leave Shy Guy alone, it's not going to come kill you. But the prototype, on the other hand, even if you aren't around it, or if you just come really unlucky and you come across it, it's going to try to hurt you and murder you and send you to a pocket dimension. It just seems like it's the supervillain SCP, whereas Shy Guy kind of seems like it's pretty neutral. As long as you leave Shy Guy alone, you're pretty much good.
Or, it's another few hours before they find him. One of the men in the search party remarks that the boy seemed to have gone far further than he should when hunting. Another replies that perhaps he didn't venture out here at all. Maybe he was dragged. No one honors that with an answer. They keep their heads down and keep searching. The possibility is too frightening to truly consider. If a dangerous creature has made its home in the forest surrounding the village, then all of them are in trouble. Not long after that, they find the missing teenager, injured and unconscious.
Oh,
he looks
okay, so
pale
he's
and
still
sickly,
alive.
with 3 ragged claw marks cut into his chest.
Barely.
The silent thought passes between them. What animal has 3 claws? No animal that they know of. But now is not the time to think of that. They need to wrap the injured boy in blankets before he freezes to death out here or succumbs to his injuries. First, they need to ensure that he survives this. Then, they need to find out what did this to him. Soon, the boy is lying in the home of the town's medicine man, a rudimentary scientific figure with a wide knowledge of herbs and plant-based medicine. But he cannot diagnose the sickness that the boy seems to be experiencing. He has nausea, dizziness, a rattling cough that sometimes produces blood, and his skin is taking an odd, unnatural hue.
He's gonna turn into a zombie.
This can't be the result of his injury, the medicine man concludes. The wounds are actually relatively shallow. This malady must have another source. The villagers pray for the boy and leave offerings and sacrifices at their altars for his recovery. But it does no good. Later that same night, he splutters blood and passes away. His dying words, heard only by the medicine man, is that there is a monster in the forest, and the most frightening thing of all is that he's right. Over the next few days, it gets worse.
So, guys, if you were in this particular situation, comment down below what you would do. Personally speaking, I would probably evacuate the village. I would get as far away from wherever I saw the SCP, or at least I knew about the SCP, as possible. I would put as much distance between me and my village, and I'd just book it, because yeah, stuff like that just really creeps me out. And that's why I don't touch grass, and that's why I stay inside, because it's scary.
Far, far worse. The same mysterious affliction that killed the teenage boy starts to spread across the village, infecting the vulnerable and infirm with deathly sickness. Livestock begins to go missing, or are found dead when the sun rises, cleaved with the same 3 deadly razor-sharp claw marks.
Oh, they're all doomed.
And if this wasn't all horrific enough, soon
the crops begin to die off.
So they have no food.
As though the same sickness
no
that's hurting
livestock,
the people and the animals is doing
everybody's
the
getting
same for
sick.
them. It's impossible to ignore the reality of the situation now. There is a demon in their midst. And if
Well,
they don't
yeah.
kill it will kill all of them.
How do you
The
kill
town
a
holds a
demon?
meeting in their square, where it quickly becomes apparent how drastically the town's numbers have dwindled. They are a shadow of their former glory. Some men suggest forming a hunting party to rampage through the forest, find this monster, and kill it. Others wisely bring up that this might leave the village's women and children undefended. What if the creature were to attack while they were all in the forest?
True.
It would mean certain
Good
doom.
point.
Frightened discourse soon gives way to a heated argument.
Just
People can
run.
become violent when they're
Everybody
afraid,
run.
and when the thing causing their fear is nowhere to be seen, that violence is inevitably channeled toward one another. However, before things can get out of hand, the brewing calamity is quickly ended by the sound of 3 firm taps against the ground. They all turn and see the village
It's
elder, an old blind man who
SCP-96.
uses a gnarled walking cane.
No, not
Crowd
actually.
falls silent. This man commands ultimate respect among the villagers, and for many, his presence has an immediate calming effect. Perhaps he would finally have a solution to this problem. There is a way, he says with a slow, rattling voice.
So I'm curious, does like this guy have some sort of connection with Shy Guy? Honestly, like that would be kind of crazy. He also does have some like weird looking eyeballs. Like I can't tell if he's blind or they're just trying to show that he's old, but I don't know. Like, could this be Shy Guy? Like the first ever version of Shy Guy, and like he transforms himself into the SCP? Probably not, but I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Maybe that's something that could happen. You never know.
What is the way, Elder? Asks a younger villager. An ancient guardian spirit that lives in the mountains. I can bring it here, and it may be able to help
Oh,
us.
so he is
There is
friends
one
with
condition,
SCP-96.
One rule, which must be followed at the cost of all others.
Do not look at
None
it,
of you may gaze upon this spirit.
or else you die.
Must keep your eyes closed. If you see it, a horror far worse than the ones we've experienced here will fall upon this village. With the approval of the rest of the village, the elder makes a rough pilgrimage up into the mountains, made even rougher by his age and infirmity. But the safety of his village is at stake.
So I wonder if maybe the town elder is blind, which makes him pretty much invulnerable to SCP-96. Because blind people obviously can't look at Shy Guy, which means that Shy Guy doesn't really care about them. Like he's cool with them and they're cool with him, and you know, they could just be friends.
There is nothing he won't sacrifice to see that its existence will be maintained.
Now, who wins the
only thing
actual
he carries,
battle, though?
other
That's what
than
I'm
his
curious
walking
about.
stick, is a length of rope. Soon he reaches the mouth of a cave, an ancient cavern cut deep into the flesh of the mountain. He enters. As a blind man, the darkness means nothing to him. The cave is silent at first, but soon he hears something. A quiet, pitiful weeping. That is how he knows he's close to the legendary guardian spirit. The old man has never seen this supposed spirit, but if he did, he would know that it is a long, pale humanoid with grasping hands and a terrible face. He knows the beast is capable of great violence, but he also knows that the beast is not evil, for it takes no pleasure in that violence. The elder's knowledge of the guardian spirit in the cave had been passed down for generations in his family. He had been told throughout his childhood about how the guardian spirit defended their village in dangerous and desperate times.
I've honestly never heard of an SCP being called like a guardian spirit before. Usually the SCP videos that I see and like the SCP Foundation website that I read about, a lot of people are like scared of them and they're like, do not get close to this SCP. This SCP will like tear out your eye sockets. So it's kind of cool to hear that like they actually think of Shy Guy as this protector that can save them from anything else that comes, like a demon, for example, like the prototype.
When bands of raiders had invaded almost a century ago, the guardian spirit destroyed them. When beasts emerged from the woods, the fear of the guardian spirit warded them off. And here and now, the elder is certain that the guardian spirit would be able to defeat the demon terrorizing them. He takes the rope and ties it around the weeping monster's neck, forming a makeshift leash. He spoke a soothing incantation and exhaled. "It's time for you to serve us once again, Great Spirit," he said. And so begins the treacherous journey back down the side of the mountain.
Okay, so he definitely has to be blind, because if he wasn't, Shy Guy would have torn him into a million jillion pieces.
But in his absence, back at the village, The situation is deteriorating. Hours have passed, and night is about to fall.
Oh,
the
no.
demon only attacks at night when they're most vulnerable. Fear has already poisoned the hearts of many of the village's men. They sequester most of the remaining population away in the village's largest home and arm themselves. They have no faith in the Elder's mystic solution. They will find this abomination and kill it themselves. There is no other way. But as they gather in the village square and prepare to lead an assault on the forest, they never would have expected the monster they're hunting to come to them. And in an almighty flash,
there it is.
It appears in front of them.
The prototype.
It's even more horrible than they'd ever imagined. A large, spindly beast with black spikes for legs, an emaciated body, the same 3 black claws that had left those terrible marks on all of its victims. But worst of all,
Ew.
featureless,
It's so
tooth-lined
gross.
maw with a huge glowing eye inside.
That's like the worst looking SCP that you could ever imagine. Like, literally, if I imagined the most disgusting humanoid creature on planet Earth, I would probably picture this thing. It literally, it's first off, it's giant. It has like huge overgrown nails. It has the skinniest body parts ever. And its face is just like a big booger that has teeth on it.
It is a monster worse than even what their nightmares could conjure. Before they can even attack it, it unleashes a blast of energy that blows back the ones closest to it, leaving them dead or dying, their skin horrifically burnt.
Ew.
Those further back run in to attack the monster, screaming with a fury that they hope will hide their terror. But the monster is far faster than them. It whips out its claws and slashes at them, hitting each one with a deadly kill strike.
Oh, they really
aren't
need
able
Shy
land
Guy
a
to help
single
now.
hit on the beast. As the bodies hit the floor, some try to run.
Let the
but it's
bodies hit the
already too
floor.
late. One person attempting to run suddenly feels a pain in his chest. It freezes in place, and then is simply sucked into himself.
It's
screaming,
the prototype
puffing away,
special ability.
and
He can just
disappearing
summon in a
entirely.
black hole
While
wherever
the
he
language
wants.
To understand how this man died would not be developed for centuries. We today would be able to say that the monster, today known as SCP-001, the prototype, created a singularity within the man's body, absorbing him into himself.
Also, guys, I recently learned this from your guys' comments, actually, that SCP-001 isn't the only SCP-001. Like, there's actually hundreds of SCPs with the same name of 001, and technically speaking, like, it's not the first SCP. Like, a lot of people think that they know what the first SCP is. The prototype could be one of them, but, I mean, there's hundreds of SCP-001s. So, yeah, just fun fact for you.
The people cowering inside can hear the screams and the terrible sounds of their fellow villagers, their friends, sometimes even their families, being massacred outside. They believe in the Elder and follow his teachings despite their fear. They keep their eyes forced closed. Some of their strongest men have gone out there to face the monster and had been slain. There is truly nothing they can do except wait and hope. Outside, the creature, the demon that had been the ruin of their village, is the only thing still alive. The many bodies of those slaughtered lay twisted on the ground around it. Then, it begins to hunt. It wants to find the others.
Okay, where
It
the
gurgles and
flip is
chitters,
Shy Guy
its
right
legs
now?
making a tack-tack-tack sound on the ground beneath its sharpened points.
Ew, that's
The
so
surviving
gross.
villagers do all they can to remain silent as they hear it getting closer. Death itself draws near. Then, someone and something else enter the village. The demon hears them arrive.
Let's
and scatters over
go!
to investigate.
I never thought I'd be
Elders
cheering for Shy
He
Guy.
knows what happened. He can hear the demon. He can smell the burning flesh of the dead. And he has brought another monster on the end of a rope.
Yes,
A guardian
sir!
spirit. A thing that, centuries later, would become to be known as SCP-096, the Shy Guy. And the demon had made the terrible mistake of looking at its face. The monster began to cry. and
Yes!
say, "You have defiled and profaned my village,
Let's go,
demon,"
dudes.
the elder said, speaking over the guardian spirit's wailing. "This is your divine punishment. You will be removed from the face of the earth for your crimes." The demon releases a
Will it
blast
work,
of
though?
radioactive energy, striking the elder directly.
Oh,
and
he
killing
did.
him instantly.
Oh, bye-bye,
But
Elder.
despite the residual burns from the attack, the guardian spirit is unaffected. It continues to bawl loudly. Then
with the fury and speed of a bullet train.
Oh, come on,
it
let's
roars
go.
and gallops towards the demon.
So Shy Guy is extremely fast. It could survive practically anything. I think it might be technically invincible. Like, it could survive in space, underwater. It really doesn't take any damage. And it also, like, literally will not stop until it destroys whatever looked at it. So it's going to go after the prototype until it's dead, pretty much.
Its clawed hands extended. With one strike of the back of the guardian spirit's hand, the demon's
Oh!
body is thrown through a nearby empty house, tearing through the brickwork
That's
and sending it skidding
crazy.
across the ground on the other side. The demon rises shakily to its feet, dazed and hurt. It doesn't understand. How had that creature resisted the radiation poisoning? It only showed minor burns.
Yeah, I don't think the
Didn't make
prototype's
sense.
ready for
It
the
makes
Shy
even
Guy
less sense to the
showdown.
demon when the guardian spirit comes bounding through the wreckage of the house, its burns already somehow completely healed. There is no hesitation from the guardian spirit. It leaps towards the demon, and the demon only narrowly dodges the spirit's grasp. It rakes its claws along the spirit's back as it glides
Oh.
past, leaving another 3 distinctive scars.
Oh,
By the time the
dude.
creature lands on all 4 spindly limbs, the wounds are already seamlessly
He
healing.
has super healing.
This is nothing like fighting a mere human being. Perhaps the Elder was right.
The
This
prototype
creature
was
is a
not
divine
prepared for this.
punishment, and it really is here to wipe out the demon.
The only thing I am really curious about is if Shy Guy can handle the black hole that the prototype can spawn in.
Once and for all. But if that is the case, then this demon won't be going down without a fight. It creates a singularity within the guardian
Oh, here we
spirit's
go.
chest. The spirit doubles over in pain, howling and clawing at the dirt beneath it. But to the demon's surprise, the guardian spirit doesn't crumble like the humans did.
Oh, it's over
Massive
for the
amount of
prototype.
radiation being caused as a side effect of the singularity barely seems to faze the beast.
Wow.
The demon strains to increase the power of the singularity within the guardian spirit, but other than causing it to wail
Yeah,
and
it's
bellow
not
louder,
working.
it seems to have no meaningful effect. The demon, on some level, thinks it's as if the creature is held together by an invincible skeleton. No matter what it does, it only seems to be able to leave superficial damage. The monster is unbreakable. The guardian
Yeah, that's
spirit
Shy Guy
flails
for
and
ya.
lunges, breaking the demon's concentration and causing the singularity to collapse. Taking advantage of the sudden respite, the guardian strikes the demon on its disgusting, bulbous head, causing it to stumble backwards, dizzied. The demon steadies itself and gives a defensive screech, but the guardian spirit ignores it.
So can the
Instead,
prototype be
it leaps
destroyed?
onto the demon and grabs it. Shocked
Oh, we're
by the
about to
sudden
find out.
ferocity of its attacker, the demon clawed at the guardian spirit's face, wounding it but not deterring it. The guardian spirit has a grip that would put iron to shame. Despite trying to wriggle free, the demon couldn't seem to escape.
Wow.
As the guardian spirit roars and stretches open its jaws, the demon activates its emergency escape feature. It creates another miniature singularity around itself.
I think
a
it might bring
wormhole,
Shy Guy with
and
it.
vanishes.
Oh, no.
The demon reappears in the woods, feeling, for the first time in its wretched existence, a pang of mortal fear. At least it was able to escape back into the woods, where it could steal away into the night and fight again another day. It understands its
But
enemy
wait a
now.
second,
It
guys.
could
Shy Guy will not stop until this thing is dead, and it knows exactly where to find it, too, even if it teleports away.
figure out weaknesses. It could plan, strategize. But its thoughts are interrupted by a familiar, horrific wailing.
Yeah,
Shocked,
dude.
the demon looks up. It sees the guardian
look, there's
spirit
Shy Guy.
bounding towards it across the forest, barging through trees and splintering them into wood chips. How? How had this creature gotten here already? It's as if it has an innate sense of the demon's location. The demon steels itself and summons all of its power. It would need to annihilate the guardian spirit now.
It's
or it
not
would
going to be
done
enough,
for.
dudes. There's no
It
way.
opens its freakish head, and the eye in its mouth glows, releasing
Whoa.
a wave of radioactive heat that bakes earth and disintegrates trees in its path.
Wow.
It catches the guardian spirit in the blinding blast and wipes it out.
No.
When the smoke clears,
No, no,
there's
no, no,
nothing
no, no,
left
no.
of the guardian spirit.
He's
but a
gonna be right
charred
behind him.
skeleton. The demon
What?
approaches, perhaps to investigate the kill, perhaps to take in the victory. But suddenly,
Oh.
the skeleton rears up, already beginning to
crazy.
regrow its flesh.
That's
and closes
insane.
its clawed hand around the demon's
It's
throat.
literally the Terminator.
The demon screams, but not for long.
Check this
Many,
out.
Many people are dead.
Oh my
A
god.
biker bar is stuffed with bullet-riddled corpses
Oh my
of
God.
Hell's Angels. In the city aquarium, several workers and a night guard float dead in a
Oh
huge
my
tank,
God.
being picked at by triggerfish and sharks.
This is a horrible
At
way
a
to start an
construction
SCP
site,
video.
Several men stand frozen, their faces locked in forever grimaces of anguish. Just outside town, the bodies of 2 police officers lay scorched beyond recognition, and even further out, the body of an old farmer hangs from the twisted wire of a fence. What could possibly be behind this town-wide carnage? How could one being be the cause of so much death?
Is it really
To
just like a
find
little
out,
stuffed animal?
You need only rewind a few hours.
That's it?
6 p.m. Nobody has any idea of the horrors the night has in store for them. But if they knew about one another, they might have some idea of the clues, the little signs that point to something being just a bit off.
I'm so
Over
confused.
in the biker bar, the big, tough, leather-clad men, their hair tied back with bandanas and their beards twisted into Viking locks, laugh and shoot pool together. They've completed some good scores lately. Nobody messes with them. They own these streets. It's their strength, their intimidation, and most important of all, the cache of guns in the back of the bar. One biker among them hears something strange, though. Something rustling in the back room.
It's a bear.
Someone infiltrated the armory. He pulls out his side piece, a revolver with a pearlescent handle, and barges into the armory. But the room is empty.
Whoa.
Not just of people, but of weapons.
Somebody
All
stole
the gun racks are
everything.
laid bare. His heart drops into his stomach. Seconds later, he's running back into the bar, demanding that the music be shut off. He sounds the alarm, and bikers start scrambling, as though the missing guns might be hiding under the tables. Little do they know that the truth is far, far stranger. Over at the city aquarium, they're wrapping up for the day, seeing off their remaining few customers. Janitors are starting their nightly rounds as night guards suit up and prep for patrol. One more marine biologist who works full-time studying the aquarium's many creatures isn't quite ready to go home for the night. She's made herself a new pot of coffee and is on her way to the octopus tank, containing several of the hyper-intelligent, mysterious mollusks. But when she arrives, she sees a startling sight. All the octopi are gone. Shocked and horrified,
What?
she calls over some janitors and a night guard. There are a few other possibilities. Either these slimy escape artists had figured out a way to get out and slither away, or someone had stolen them. She's in a full panic now. These octopi are vital to her research, but when the others arrive, there's no trace of the creatures. There is, however, a strange pair of tiny, wet footsteps heading towards the tank. Before any of them can react to that, they hear a wet slapping sound behind them. Over at a construction site, work is just ramping up. Plans are being drawn up for the night's work, and construction equipment is being vanned in. The foreman of the construction site is pleased with how everything is progressing, and if everyone does their job right, they'll have all their work completed on schedule. He lives in this state of blissful optimism until one of his workers runs over to him in a panic. Someone has stolen 4 bags of cement. The exact 4 bags of cement they need for setting the foundation. As the foreman calls the company manager to profusely apologize for the delays, the construction workers scramble around the site, looking anywhere they can for the 4 bags. It's not uncommon for equipment to get stolen from construction sites, but bags of cement? That's strange. Though not nearly as strange as the creature approaching the foreman. Step by careful step, its hard gray skin scratching against itself. Meanwhile, a pair of police officers in a squad car receive a call over their radio. There are reports of a break-in at a nuclear graveyard across town. A large stone dome covering up a mess of radioactive material from when the city used to have a nuclear power plant. Someone tripped the alarm on the perimeter gate, and someone needs to get there and apprehend the intruder before they do something they seriously regret. The officers arrive not so long after and see a hole cut into the fence. But the hole is weirdly low and small. Was the person who broke in a small child?
I can't wait to see the Builder-Bear.
The 2 officers pull out their flashlights and head up to the gate, opening it and walking through. Just as they're starting to wonder whether they should have brought some kind of radiation guard, they feel a strange, warm sensation on their skin, like a tanning bed, like blistering sunlight.
That's not
in
good.
the middle of the night. They turn and try to see what's walking towards them. The air seems to distort and wobble, even in the dark. Then there's a flash of bright, eye-searing light, and both the officers scream.
It's Builder-Bear!
On a farm nestled in the sticks outside the town, an old farmer is carrying out his twilight rounds. He's hammering in fence posts, making sure the sheep, cows, and chickens are fenced off. He's about to turn in for the night when he sees a goat, his goat, wandering out in the fields beyond his own. He doesn't know how this thing escaped, but in any case, he needs to get it back. As he walks to the edge of the farm, he finds out why. Someone has ripped away all the barbed wire from a section of the outer fence. The wire is completely gone. It doesn't make sense. His mind fills with questions, and one awful, monstrous answer is standing right behind him.
Oh, that's so
Then,
creepy.
all across town, the chaos begins. Back in the biker bar, there's a quiet tapping amidst the chaos of heavy leather boots tromping back and forth. The tap, tap, tap of metal against wooden floorboards. The bikers turn in unison to the back of the bar, where something small and squat is limping out of the shadows. When it steps into the light, the bikers can hardly believe what they're seeing. A teddy bear. A living, walking teddy bear. Made out of guns. Its body is an amalgam of stocks and ammo belts. It walks on a pair of spindly rifle barrels for legs. Its eyes are scopes and laser sights. And perhaps most striking are its arms. The left arm is an Uzi submachine gun, and the right is an AA-12 fully automatic drum barrel shotgun.
That is so
The bikers
cool.
recognize every gun as their own. But before their many minds can compute another thought, the gun bear raises its shotgun and Uzi arms and begins blasting.
No way.
Bullet after bullet tears
Wow.
through the bikers, dropping them one by
That's
one. Some
insane.
scramble for the door, but it doesn't save them. In a
Nope.
matter of moments, as gunshots ring throughout the bar, every single biker is dead.
By a
Over
tiny
at the
teddy
aquarium,
bear.
things aren't going much better. The marine biologist and her coworkers turn to see a strange figure standing on top of
Oh,
the tank.
I think I was right.
It's in the shape of a teddy bear. But the biologist can clearly see that it's about 5 octopi fused together in some nightmarish and unnatural conglomeration.
Okay.
The tentacles stretch out and grab the aquarium staff, lifting them with
Cool,
impossible
but deadly.
strength and force them down into the tank. They struggle and thrash against the slimy tentacles holding them in place underwater, but it's no use.
I wonder why
The
Builder Bear
octopi
is so
bear is
deadly.
in total control.
Like, why does it want to kill
Bubbles
everybody?
rise as the unfortunate aquarium staff struggle, but those bubbles eventually stop.
R.I.P.
Everyone in the tank floats, dead. The work of the octopi bear isn't over yet, though. It drags the waterlogged corpses of the marine biologist, the cleaners, and the night guard across the aquarium floor,
Why?
leaving a wet trail. Eventually, it throws the bodies into the main aquarium tank and watches with a slimy, blank expression as the fish begin to feed.
Oh, why?
Back at the construction
That's so
site,
weird.
the workers are frozen, but not in fear. The entity that stepped out of the shadows of the construction site is a teddy bear made of solid cement.
It looks so
constructed
cute.
out of the 4 stolen bags. The second the foreman saw it, he called in the other workers to see, dooming them to share his fate. As some of them reach into their jackets to grab phones, eager to take photos, just to see if this truly is happening, the cement teddy bear screams.
What?
It's an awful sound, the screech of metal on metal, like a broken cement mixer spinning off kilter.
Oh my
and threatening
God.
to explode.
What?
But it doesn't explode. It just keeps screeching. And as it screeches, the workers and the foreman
Whoa.
are frozen in place. As much as they try with all their might, it's like their bodies are turning into concrete.
Huh?
No, it isn't like that at all. That's exactly what's happening. Their skin is taking on
What?
a slate gray hue, becoming rigid and brittle.
Are you
Little
serious?
by little, their bodies freeze and harden. Their eyes go after all the rest as they watch themselves becoming living statues, trapped forever.
I'm getting
in the shell of
goosebumps.
their
That
own
is the
bodies.
scariest one
The
yet.
cement teddy bear walks among them, and it begins to dance. Over at the nuclear graveyard, another 2 corpses
This might be my new favorite SCP.
are about to be interred. That flash of light is actually a localized blast of radiation that would make Chernobyl look positively quaint, frying the officers on a cellular level in less time than it would take for a camera to take a photograph. They lay on the ground, skin
Wow.
burnt, vomiting profusely.
Oh.
They twitch and squirm, not quite dead, but trapped in a void of unimaginable pain. Every thought burned out of their head. Their killer walks towards them on tiny, flat feet. As you may have predicted, it's a teddy bear, a living, walking teddy bear, cobbled together out of radioactive material. What it's done to the 2 police officers is horrifying, but if it gets into the city proper, the death toll will quickly climb into the thousands, if not the hundreds of thousands. But the violence and terror of the night is not quite over yet.
Oh, comment down
We
below.
return to the farm, where a farmer can only just make out a tiny figure stomping across the grass towards him. He hears it before he sees it and whips around, the strange jangling of metal against metal. He immediately regrets not bringing his gun, but it's too late for regrets now. He can see it now, the freakish little
Oh
teddy bear made out of
my
twisted
God.
barbed wire. Tendrils of the wire strip away from the teddy bear's body and launch towards him like angry vipers.
That's so
They wrap
scary.
around his body and limbs, around his
no.
neck, and tie him to a fence post.
Ouch.
He tries to struggle, but every movement hurts as more barbed wire
yeah.
cocoons him. Out on the field, the goat looks on with complete indifference. What you just witnessed is a series of horrifying impossibilities. Unless,
Yes.
of course, you're dealing with SCP-1048.
It looks
a
so
singularly
cute.
strange anomaly known as the Builder Bear. But please don't let the apparent whimsy of that name fool you. What we're dealing with here is an extremely dangerous Keter-class anomaly.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get there, we need to explore some background information on the entity before it revealed its darker side. SCP-1048 is a relatively small and unassuming teddy bear, standing at only 33 centimeters tall. Researchers have studied the materials and composition behind the Builder Bear and found that nothing about it is inherently anomalous. But despite this, the bear appears to be fully sapient and capable of moving of its own accord. While it is incapable of speech, it can communicate through some small gestures, all of which are extremely sweet and affectionate. Yes, you heard that correctly. One of the most surprising things about SCP-1048, if you're only familiar with it by reputation, is the fact that most people who directly encounter it find it endearing and even adorable.
Yeah,
it shows
it's
affection
cute.
to human subjects by hugging their lower leg, dancing, jumping in place, and
So-
even drawing childlike crayon pictures for Foundation janitorial staff.
Yeah, what turns
Before
it
the
into this
darker
like evil
incidents began,
creature?
Almost everyone reported positive feelings towards SCP-1048, even D-Class personnel who had tested positive for sociopathic tendencies. Despite its seemingly charming exterior, the inner workings of the Builder Bear's mind still remain a mystery. Attempts to communicate with the anomaly directly have failed, because although it is capable of making simple gestures indicating yes and no answers, it will often simply ignore certain questions. Specifically, it will completely stonewall any questions about its origins, which is partly why
Interesting.
the Foundation knows so little except for what it can directly observe. Whether the Builder Bear declines to answer because it doesn't know or because it doesn't want to share is an open question.
I'm also, yeah,
And while the Builder Bear is capable of drawing pictures, these are purely for the aesthetic value of the pictures themselves, not a means of communication. It's yet another mystery for the enigmatic bear. 7 months after first being contained in Site-24, Foundation personnel were able to
What?
first observe the Builder Bear's secondary anomalous effect, the one that gave it its namesake. Its ability to create crude living replicas of itself from various materials. This would be fine and dandy, that these replicas are invariably
Ew.
extremely hostile and
Ew.
dangerous. Dr. Carver, the head researcher on the SCP-1048 case, posited that, in hindsight, the reason that the Builder Bear behaved so affectionately to staff around Site-24 was to lull its victims into a false sense of security, making it easier to collect materials for its secondary anomalous pursuits. Dr. Carver outlined case studies of the 3 most dangerous SCP-1048 creations that have manifested in Site-24 since the Builder Bear started its grim construction project. These creations have been labeled SCP-1048-A, SCP-1048-B, and SCP-1048-C.
so these are all of the replicas.
I'd like to personally warn you that the accounts of these 3 devious bears are disturbing beyond belief, even by the standards of anomalies studied by the SCP Foundation. During the first incident, SCP-1048 was spotted walking with SCP-1048-A
What is
down a
that?
hallway in Site-24. 1048-A is similar to its creator
What?
in size and shape, except that it's made
Ears?
entirely from human ears.
What?
Dr. Carver was immediately alerted to the creature's
Dudes!
presence, and he
No!
dispatched a security team to apprehend both
Burn that
anomalies.
thing with fire.
However,
That
what
is
seemed
gross.
like what would be a simple mission instead became a nightmarish case of mass death. As soon as the security team surrounded the 2 bears, 1048-A let out an impossibly loud, ear-piercing shriek that induced physical pain in everyone within a 10-meter range.
Wow.
But we're not just talking about hearing loss here. Everyone within hearing range began collapsing, growing
What?
ears all over their
Whoa.
body,
Whoa.
covering every inch of their skin. The 2 bears managed to escape during the chaos, and Dr.
Whoa.
Carver arrived just too late to make any difference. Though luckily for him, he was at least able to avoid becoming an ear-abomination. This incident resulted in personnel deaths in the double digits. The cause of death, mainly suffocation from all the ears that had grown in the throats and lungs of all those affected. 1048-A has still not been contained.
Oh, it's still out there?
While 1048A was hardly a walk in the park, 1048B was, in this humble scientist's opinion, considerably more revolting.
Are you serious?
I will have to tread carefully here, as the creation of 1048B is an extremely traumatic incident
What
for
could
an
it
active
be?
duty member of Foundation personnel who still works at Site-24 to this day. In order to remain within the bounds of good taste, we'll say that 1048B looks like
Whoa.
a frightening cross between a plush teddy bear and a human infant.
Are you serious?
Before the creation of 1048B,
No.
the anonymous researcher I mentioned earlier was heavily pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
Afterwards, she was not.
What?
The less said about that, the better.
What?
Moving on. The third of the documented SCP-1048 creations is perhaps even more frightening and dangerous than the other two.
Are you kidding me? They get worse?
1048C was first spotted by Dr. Carver himself, lurking in his office. 1048C is another living teddy bear,
What
made
is
entirely
that?
from rusted scrap metal and jagged blades.
That's horrible.
The second that Dr. Carver spotted the metal monster, it got away, fatally slicing and dicing its way through a number of Site-24 guards
Yeah.
during its escape. Like the other two, it has not been sighted since the incident and is presumed to be still active somewhere in Site-24.
Where are they
potentially
going?
ready to pop out at any moment. It brings a whole new meaning to the term bad news bears. Those well-versed in the anomalous files of the SCP Foundation may be feeling a strange flicker of memory right now. That's because SCP-1048 isn't the only anomalous teddy bear out there, and its
Oh.
counterpart, SCP-2295,
There's
the bear
more.
with a heart of patchwork, seems to be its perfect opposite in terms of temperament.
Interesting.
It goes without saying that SCP-1048 and its terrifying copies are a menace to everyone it encounters.
That's what it seems
but
like.
the bear with a heart of patchwork endeavors to save injured human beings whenever it can.
Oh, wow.
If this benevolent bear discovers a person with a severe injury or a disease causing organ failure, it will immediately leap into action. Like a cuddly trauma surgeon,
Aw.
SCP-2295 will take a needle and thread and begin making a fully functional plush organ out of its own material. It will then attempt to perform transplant surgery, and if the surgery is successful, this patchwork organ will function exactly as a regular one.
Okay, that's
the
really
bear
cool.
has saved many lives like this. In fact, SCP-2295 is so benevolent that in cases where the surgery fails, it's been witnessed doubled
Aw.
over and crying over the loss of life.
Poor little guy.
This is a courtesy that you cannot expect if your life is brought to an abrupt demise by one of SCP-1048's many copies.
Nope.
The containment procedures for SCP-1048 have undergone considerable evolution as the Foundation learned more about the entity's anomalous effects. Originally classified as safe before its secondary characteristics manifested, the anomaly is now classified as Keter.
As it should
Its
be.
original containment procedures are also shockingly lax given what we know now. 1048 was given free rein to wander around Site-24 and interact with personnel to its heart's content, a policy that we now know had terrible consequences. Technically speaking, SCP-1048 isn't contained. Many believe that it still lurks somewhere inside Site-24,
Oh, they don't know
though
where it
nobody
is.
can know this for sure. The orders for all active Foundation personnel is to apprehend SCP-1048 on site and to immediately destroy any of its deadly creations with extreme prejudice. The dangers posed by SCP-1048 are so great that even non-anomalous teddy bears are banned from Site-24 to prevent any potential confusion.
Wow.
Any object resembling a bear is to be reported to the site security team to avoid a potential mass casualty event. Dr. Carver appended a note to SCP-1048's containment procedures saying, "This is not a joke. We have no idea what SCP-1048's full capabilities are. Who knows how many of the damn things are out there by now?"
That is true.
It's a disquieting thought, to say the least. The Builder Bear is one of the most peculiar and dangerous self-perpetuating anomalies out there, with incredibly unpredictable abilities across its different iterations. If you want to stay safe, my recommendation is to be wary of any stuffed bears you may see lying around. If you're lucky, it's just another adorable plush creature. If you're unlucky, well, I hope you've made all the proper arrangements.
Oh
Check out the Dr.
my
Bob Petrie
gosh. And ladies